just keep persisting, right? There's going to be challenges. There's been times where I've wanted to quit, and I've been really thankful that I haven't. Just keep grinding. And then I think the second thing to that, and you touched on it earlier, was just the vision. Like, have a big vision that you absolutely believe in the future.
Welcome to the Build It to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe that the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal, to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. Hey, I'm your host today, Brett Swarts, and every episode we feature some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. They share their principles, values, secrets, and wisdom, providing each of us with the insights we need to reach the next level of success, faith, and impact. I'm excited about our next guest. He is the founder and senior financial advisor with Vital Wealth. And he brings an understanding of not only complex finances, but also tax strategies, as well as helping us all plan to be able to invest in a world outside of just the Wall Street traditional model. In fact, he's an entrepreneur for 20 years. He owns real estate, but he's going to bring a full picture to investing. And we're going to be talking about truly passive investing with our guest, Patrick Lonergan. And Patrick, did I pronounce your last name right?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, Brett, thank you very much for having me. We got started in real estate 20 some years ago. I had a full ride to law school and dropped out after being late for my first class, buying a piece of real estate. And, you know, it really was a journey where we had lots of ups and downs. We made lots of money, lost lots of money. And now we're working with entrepreneurs that generally come to us. They're making over $1 million net income, and they have a tax problem. They're tired of their CPAs being promising tax strategy, and CPA's business model is just not designed to do the type of work we do to deliver on the tax model. And so, you know, the CPAs do a good job of getting the right numbers in the right boxes. Where in June and July, we're forecasting out the tax liability and getting an idea of where they need to be. And so there's 4 cornerstones that make up our planning. It starts with cash flow. Once we understand your cash flow, then we can design a tax strategy. Then once we have tax figured out, then we move on to, okay, we're not sending the money to the IRS. Let's figure out how to invest it. And that goes into everything from, let's invest back in our business, let's invest in a traditional model, let's go invest in real estate. And then, you know, at some point, maybe once we're across that financial freedom threshold, we take some moonshots, right? Like, let's go invest in private equity or some of those different opportunities out there. And then the last piece is protection. People get awfully hung up in their legal structures and their insurance and that type of thing, and they haven't built any wealth. And it's like, let's make sure we're building wealth and we have something to protect before we get too tied up in our complex trust structure that we need to have in place. So that's a quick overview of who we are and what we currently do. But it's been a journey. There's been some ups and downs along the way. So
cool. I'm sure there has been. By the way, you can learn more about Patrick by going to vitalwealth.com, CFP financial advisor, FPQP, and so much more. I think it's flat fee financial planning. He's got a great background, and he's got a ton of wisdom here. And we're going to be diving into that. In fact, and we're going to start with this, Patrick. You know, I believe we've all been given certain gifts, and these gifts have been given us to be a blessing, help to others. What would you say is hey, Patrick is really great at doing this, or this is his strength or superpower that helps you help people today?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a couple pieces. I love to learn. It's interesting. I started reading way more books once I graduated college than I did while I was in college. And I always have some podcast in my ear, audiobook, physical book, something along those lines. And it's all practical things that we can take away. So, and then you combine that with, I'll say, some creativity. I'm always looking for, I would love to say I have original ideas, but I don't have any original ideas. I'm taking concepts and marrying them together going, hey, what if we did this in this scenario? And so when we think about the entrepreneur, I would love to say that they're all the same, right? And we just can cookie cutter the strategies, but that's not always the case. And So we're able to take all the concepts we have, tools in the tool belt, and marry those together to really create some unique opportunities for the entrepreneur to get planning in place that aligns with their goals. So I think that's probably where my
Perfect.
unique ability.
Love it. All right, keep that in mind. Love to learn, and creativity of bringing these cool things together to help the entrepreneur and investor. Awesome. And so let's dive right into the topic at hand, which is truly passive income. That's what we're studying here. We think it's one of the best ways to unlock and multiply freedom and impact for our clients, for investors, for entrepreneurs, where they can get truly passive income. And we define that as, we call it no shoes, no shirt, no problem, right? If you ever heard the song by Kenny Chesney, right? Where you could be sitting, on the beach, right? With the guitar, with the glasses, and relaxing, knowing that your money is working harder for you. And you really have nothing to have to do about that, because the money's just going to be flowing in. That's truly passive income versus, I think that more traditional passive income is the financial freedom model of, well, my passive income, replaces my expenses. But I think truly passive income means so much more. But I'm curious, Patrick, what when you think about truly passive income, what comes to mind?
Yeah. So I'll start off with what it's not. I think a lot of people think that their real estate investment portfolio can produce passive income. Speaking as someone that's owned everything from small single family homes to large industrial projects, we're currently involved in about $150 million worth of real estate. None of that is passive. You have to have a team. Even if you have a property manager in place, you're managing the property manager. So my wife owns and operates management company and have 400 employees. Again, that's not passive income. So what I do look at as passive income is, if I were to boil it down exactly like you said, if I can sit on the beach and I get a check every single month that takes care of all of my expenses, that's what I'm looking for. Now, I would say inside of a stock and bond investment, we can, with a high degree of certainty, create that income source for you. We can set that up and go, all right, here's where the dollars can come from. We know even with some market ups and downs that will be okay to give you the income you need for a long enough period of time that you'll never outlive it. So I think that's where it starts. But I think there's a big difference between no shoes, no shirt, no problems, and being able to really grow and expand our wealth. I think they take two different mindsets and two different approaches. So
absolutely. Good share. I like that too. I also think that truly passive income is, I call it 10 to 15% on average, kind of cash on cash return, no debt, no liability, no tenants, no hassles, no lost time. I think about passive time and peace of mind, right? It's where you have passive time and peace of mind, where you can, frees you up to be able to build your family mission, vision, and values. Truly passive income is to your impact as compounding interest is to your money, right? Yep. And instead of absolute triple net, which is where a lot of people think, they go real estate, they go, I'll just do my 1031, I'll do this absolute triple net into this Walgreens or to this Dollar General or to this. You're like, well, okay, sure. And they're doing the kind of thing, but your returns are maybe 5, maybe 6%, maybe 7 if you're really, pushing it. And then but you still have to deal with something. You probably still have to deal with the bank if you're getting a loan or whatever it is. And even then I don't think it's necessarily peace of mind. I mean, I'm seeing some of these places, these Walgreens that you thought were the ideal locations, they're, becoming a Halloween store, right? For a couple months a year, or, it's like these seasonal stores. You're like, well, who's going to go into this place? And well, they've guaranteed the lease. Well, for how long, right? Another 5 or 10 years. And then what? And it's just all your eggs all in one basket. To me, that's not truly passive. That's not diversified, right? You don't have that. And so instead of thinking absolute triple net, I think absolute TPI, right? Which is truly passive income. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think I totally agree with you, because as somebody that's lived through, on the lowest end, you've got a single family home in a rough area. You've got all the T's, right? Tenants, trash, turnover, termites, toilets, all the stuff. Nobody likes those. And that is like owning another small business. And you're right. We just had a client buy a Walgreens that's been vacant for a number of years, and the owner still had to, figure out how to negotiate that deal, took a pretty significant discount on, because the fact that this property is designed for a single tenant. That tenant's no longer occupying the space. So there's absolutely work that needs to be done on these triple net scenarios. And I love your concept about, the freedom to just sit on the beach with no worries and collect that income. So I'm excited to hear more about how we get there.
I think that's the foundation, right? But then it unlocks the impact, right? Because I think when you can free yourself, and I'm studying and I'm being coached by a gentleman named Lloyd Reeb, and he's masterful at this. And he talks about kind of a 3-step problem, right? Get clear, get unstuck, get going, right? Mm-hmm. And I think getting clear on goals, getting clear on what your wealth it looks like in 1, 3, 5, 10, 20, and multi-generational, what it looks like for you, not beyond just financial wealth, but the other wealth, like the relationship wealth, the philanthropy wealth, the spiritual wealth, the family, legacy type of wealth beyond just the financial wealth. And then you get unstuck, right? Get unstuck of the things that are holding you back from doing those things. And a lot of times it is the toilets, the trash, the turnover, all of what's associated with owning real estate. And then when you can do that, and then also have the peace of mind that it's producing double-digit cash on cash returns, man, I just see the transformation happen for clients, right? Yeah. And they're just blown away. They're like, so I've been trading the last 5, 10, 15 years of, the blood, sweat, and tears when I didn't need to. I could have been doing it like this. And it's like, wow, and that light bulb moment goes off. No, this is what I've really been wanting. I want truly passive income. So those are the things that I think help you to get going on that. And you want to add to that, or what are some steps that you find, helping your clients to get to that point with that mindset?
Yeah. I love it. And we have a very similar thought process. We have this acronym called REACH that we love. The goal is to not have a bigger bank account, add another zero to the net worth. It's live a full life. And that full life is from the acronym REACH. So R is for relationships, E is for experiences, A is for advancement or growth, C is for contribution. The scriptures tell us it's better to give than receive, right? H is our health. And there's 3 components to that. It's a spiritual health, right? Like if I'm morally bankrupt, doesn't really matter how much money I have. If I'm physically not well, right? Like if I have cancer, doesn't matter how much money I have in the bank. And then there's an emotional health piece of that. If I'm depressed and can't get out of bed, again, the money doesn't matter. So, we look at how do we take our money and support that structure. And the world tells us, we start pursuing worldly things, right? There's always something outside of our reach, a bigger, faster, shinier fill in the blank. That's why we see, some of these billionaires with an unhealthy mindset go, oh, I've got a 350-foot yacht. My friend has a 375-foot yacht. I got to go buy a 400-foot yacht. And it's like, I don't think the extra 25 feet or 50 feet on your yacht's going to make you any happier. I think it's like you're talking about the impact side of the equation that really brings true fulfillment. So I love that structure that you're talking about. And I think there's a critical mindset shift there, because I think as entrepreneurs, we get in this mode where we just keep hustling. We keep wanting to add more to the scoreboard, right? And at what point do we need to slow down and go, maybe we've got enough? And I also don't think it's an or scenario. I don't think we have to stop building the business so we can have impact. I think we can settle into a situation where we're growing. We have the time and energy we need to spend the time with the people we love and care for and have an impact in the world. I think those things are, I think we live in an and opportunity, situation where we can do both of those things. So I'm excited about this whole conversation. I think this is fantastic.
100%, Patrick. I love the reach. That's so great. What was the A again one more time?
Yeah, advancement or growth.
Advancement. So is that growth and new? What do you mean by that?
Yep. Yeah. So I think about, again, in the scriptures, it tells us that wisdom is more valuable than choice silver or gold. And so if we can both grow personally, advancing that wisdom, I think it matters. And I think that also matters when we're passing it on to our children. If I've got a choice between giving my child $1 million or all of the wisdom that I've, earned through trial and error and screwing things up, I'd rather give them the wisdom. Because if you take away all the money, they'll figure out how to get it all back. If you take away the wisdom, they soon won't have any money either. So I think too often we see our clients really excited about passing on the money. And I'm like, maybe, but let's figure out how we can pass along the wisdom that you've developed over the years as well, so they can, take and continue to multiply that and have impact.
That's beautiful. And talk about experiences, right? Because you kind of went over that kind of quick there, but maybe drop in what experiences is and what that looks like for your clients.
Yeah. So I think this ties well with a lot of these things all tie well together, right? So I think about this amazing creation that we live on, and it's like, if my nose is to the grindstone and I don't spend time with, I'm a fan of the Grand Canyon. It's beautiful. It's awe-inspiring. It's one of those things that I finally understood what awe-inspiring was, to go enjoy that with my family and see it and just be like, this is incredible. Like that, all of this was designed to like just take my breath away. I love that. And I think we can also have experiences that are really hard that I wouldn't trade for anything either. Things I've screwed up in my life. It's like, in James 1:2, it talks about rejoice in the trials. And those bad experiences have helped shape me in a tremendous way as well. So that's how I look at experiences. But I could take a family vacation. I'm doing it with people I love, relationships, do the vacation in an amazing place. We spend some time crafting our family vision, right? So now there could be some advancement and growth there. Contribution could fit in there. Like it could all tie together in that one sort of, that one piece. So we just try to be very intentional on that.
Yeah, it feels like you are being very intentional and you're doing that. And I love creating that new environment to encourage new ideas and new energy. That's awesome. I think about 1,000 extraordinary days in 100 unique locations is something that we're practicing with our family, where we try to extraordinary days, that is, so something that's extraordinary outside of the norm, and that is in a unique location before they're 18 is the goal with the kids. And the kids range from the ages we're on our way there. The other thing you touched on was and I love that. You can have success and significance, right? At the same time. You don't have to give up one or the other, right? You can be a hard driving entrepreneur and involve your family along the journey and help, travel with you and do things like, we homeschool our kids for that reason right there. Like we can do these more experiences, and we can go, we were DC for a week, we're in New York for a week, and I was working before and after on both of them. And we involved and do this rhythm together on this journey, rather than feeling like it's got to be one or the other, right? Figuring out ways to do that. As well, I love the breakdown here with reach. I think this is great. One thing I thought about is, money. We were studying this and looking at money in a church, and they talked about, money can be a tool or it can be the master, right? And we want it to be the tool to unlock, blessing for people and to bless God, right? Rather than, so use money as the tool to do that. And where we get sideways or get off track is when we're using God or people to unlock and serve money, right? And so that's the battle that we're in every day, to make these decisions and have the mindset of stewardship over ownership. So moving towards that, what's helped you, Patrick, to practice a stewardship mindset over ownership?
Yeah, this is great. Thank you for this question. So there was a period in, we'll call it 2009, 10, where we were heavily invested in real estate. We were fortunate. We had a couple businesses. We started financial advisory. We had the property management business. And this was a perfect opportunity to sort of test the Lord in the concept of like tithe, okay? Because I could look at, we're very fortunate. We were able to get out of the sort of real estate meltdown without having to file bankruptcy. We worked with our lenders. We worked with, getting property sold, but it wasn't without pain. And there was a period of time where we had about $15,000 a month just going to bad debt that we didn't own the property anymore. Let our yes be yes and our no be no, right? Like we said we would pay these debts back. And so we committed ourselves to that. And so one of the things that was really challenging was, I feel like we were called to tithe. But if you looked at the net bottom line number, there was really no extra money for net income coming to us. It was like all, we could keep the lights on, we could put a little groceries in the pantry, but there was like no dollars. And so what we decided to do was go, all right, the Lord tells us to test him on the tithe. Let's tithe on net income, or the revenue number versus the net number. And let's just see what happens. And so we were able to wipe out about $500,000 of bad debt. We never had a problem like making all of our obligations. And so it was through that hard time that it was, because if there was ever a time to say, oh, I can't be a good steward of my resources because I needed to sort of like pay the bills, it was like, all right, Lord, I'm going to test you. And in Matthew, it talks about God feeds the birds of the air and clothes the flowers of the field, and he loves us more than that. So I'm like, okay, he's not going to let me go hungry, not going to let me go without clothes. Let's just like lean hard into these scriptural truths and just see if they're true, and God provided. It was a pretty tremendous example. And then it's been easy to continue that going forward. And again, not because I want God to do things for me, but it's like, I just want to be a great steward of what the Lord's blessed me with. And so let's just manage that really well in however we feel like we're being called to. So
yeah, praise God. Way to go, Patrick. Well done. Well done. By the way, vitalwealth.com if you want to learn more about Patrick, vitalwealth.com. I think about stewardship and ownership. And when I think about stewardship, it leads to gratitude, right? When I'm practicing it, and it leads to, opening up my hands and giving up control, right? Because I don't control. It's not mine to own. In fact, I'm here just steward for a brief period of time on this side of earth, right? The wealth, the talents, the time, the treasure, to make an impact, to help the MVPs, to serve God and his purposes, right? That's how I practice living my life, right? And then when I'm not doing that, when I'm in ownership, it's like, it's me, right? And it leads, and there's a spectrum here, right? But it leads to, and it can lead to entitlement, right? It's like, well, I earned this, right? And I worked hard for this. And it's like, well, how did you earn and work hard for it? Because the gifts, talents you were given, right? And it's, right. And I have these rights and I have these things, and I start to dig in, and it starts to enclose. Everything starts to enclose, right? Versus abundance mindset, it becomes enclosed. And so I think stewardship and ownership is such an important thing to start on that baseline, because without it, it tends to lead towards, again, more entitlement, right? Versus gratitude. Any other thoughts on stewardship versus ownership and how you stay centered in that?
No. I think I just tried to continually remind myself of my position in relationship to the Lord, right? Like he's known my name since he set the stars in the sky, and I am merely the clay to the potter. I think about, my kids are growing up now. My youngest is 11, but let's say when they were infants, the distance between what they knew and what I knew was dramatic, right? Like, but it's still, the gap between what I currently know and what the Lord knows is infinitely bigger. I can't even measure it. He's all-knowing God, all present. And so I just think of like everything I have, like you mentioned, all of the gifts that I've been given, every material thing around me has just been provided for by the Lord. And it's just my job to manage that for his glory. So I love it.
Praise God. I love it. But again, vitalwealth.com. Okay, so keep moving. Let's go back to a little bit of the clients here. So you go through the reach process, right? You go through, figuring out what their cash flow needs and their, retirement or their number that they're looking for. You're looking at some tax efficiencies. And then where do you go from there? Or what are some of the practical ways that you guys are doing that's different than other folks that you can share, Patrick?
Yeah, no, thank you. So really, one of the things that we're spending a lot of time on the cash flow is just projecting out the next 12 months. Everything from charitable intent to tax strategy to business investments. Let's put this all on the cash flow calendar and make sure that we're not going to run out of cash anywhere along the way. The number one reason businesses go out of business is they run out of cash. So like we have this margin of safety. Too low is dangerous. Too high is inefficient. Let's make sure we're sitting there. And then I think the most interesting thing is we get into 4 levels of tax strategy. Level 1 is the IRS gives us guidance, but it doesn't take any investment. So this would be things like making an S election with my LLC if I'm just a pass through, or if my kids clean my office building. So if I pay them, I can pay them up to $14,600 and they don't have to pay any income tax on that. Then level 2 is the IRS gives us guidance, but we have to make investments. So this is 401ks, cash balance plans. And we're just working through these levels with our clients. Level 3 is we combine sections of the code to create efficiency. Okay. There's a few examples out there, like a captive insurance company or restricted property trust, some of these different ideas where we're marrying a couple concepts together to create efficiency. And then level 4 is tax evasion or tax fraud. And the reason we bring it up is because there's people out there pitching strategies as legitimate that are going to get you in trouble. And we can even take a level 1 strategy like paying our kids, right? Like if my kids didn't clean the office building and I paid them $14,600, that's fraud. I shouldn't be doing that. And so we just like to get very clear on those things, and we just start working through until we fill up the tax bucket for the client. Generally, they run out of money before we run out of tax strategy to execute on those things. But on average, we save our planning clients $280,000 of income tax just using that model. Now, when I don't have to send it to the IRS, I can move on to investing it in things that are going to create this like truly passive income that you're talking about. So.
Boom. Got it. So guidance plus investment, combine other strategies, and then making sure you're not getting in the tax evasion, tax fraud. Huge. Love that. Let's shift into capital gains tax, right? So we recently got connected here. We're working on some joint deals together coming up where you have clients and people that are exiting, large positions, whether it be stock, Bitcoin, businesses, real estate, and they have these massive capital gains taxes, right? And then you're learning about this deferred sales trust, right? That, know, most people had never heard of, and perhaps you hadn't heard about it until you started to hear about what we're doing here. So walk through the big problem and pain point, and then how the deferred sales trust is so attractive working for your clients moving forward.
Yeah. So I can just give you a personal example. My wife is looking at getting their portfolio to the point where they can sell it off to, a large national REIT. Okay. And so there's going to be a tax problem. When I think about, I live in the state of Iowa, I've got federal tax at 20% plus 5.7% Iowa income tax plus Medicare surtax. I'm right around 30%. And I'm like, okay, we've already paid tax, on all of our income along the way. Now we have to pay tax on the proceeds here. I just look at that and it's like, we could 1031 into something, but I hate the time frames. I hate the debt. I hate all the rules around that. And I'm like, okay, there's so much of this that is just not attractive to me. Because when I'm in a 1031, the seller of my property knows they have me because my time frame sort of exposed out there. And it's like, I don't like any part of that. Where the restricted property trust or deferred sales trust, geez, edit that out. The deferred sales trust allows us to throw all those rules away, not have to worry about going and replacing property. I can put the dollars in there, invest in a stock and bond allocation until the right property shows up 5 years from now, and then move into something along those lines. I just see it as a beautiful opportunity there. And then we've got clients that are selling businesses. They've blood, sweat, and tears into these things, and they're going to have a $200 million exit with zero cost basis. It's like, okay, giving away $50 million to the IRS sounds like a terrible idea. Like let's keep that $50 million in the pool and just keep earning on the proceeds versus the net. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. By the way, if you want to learn more about it, go to capitalgainstaxsolution.com or even just reach out to Patrick at vitalwealth.com to learn more. So this is really interesting, right? Because it's not just capital gains tax. And by the way, we call that 1031 the shotgun wedding, right? When you're running around getting engaged in 45 days, married in 180. Yeah. And oftentimes it just doesn't work out. But then you have folks that are, baby boomers or getting older, or just ready, not even baby boomers, just entrepreneurs that are ready for, the truly passive income. And they're ready to unlock that so they can focus on the things that bring them joy and fulfillment and impact. And they're like, why would I stick to the old blockbuster 1031 when I have a deferred sales trust, which is like Netflix, that can unlock so much for me? And this is the coolest part about it. It's like, once it clicks, it's hard to ever go back to the old way of doing things. The second thing that it solves for that a lot of people may not be aware of is the death tax, right? Back to that $200 million sale, they don't just have a capital gains tax problem, they have an estate tax problem, right? And so we want to eliminate that estate tax without any charity, life insurance, or gifting required, right? And then be able to invest into other assets that are going to produce, cash flow and diversification. So any thoughts on just the death tax challenge that people go through and ways that the deferred sales trust could help that too?
Yeah, we're just doing some estate planning for a client that is in Connecticut, and there's a 40% estate tax plus a 12% state estate tax. And it's like, there's been tax paid all along the way here, and we're still going to give more dollars away at estate tax planning. It makes clients' heads want to pop off. Like, what do you mean? You know, we've paid tax for our employees on the payroll tax. We've paid income tax. We're paid, you know, we can pay capital gains tax. Now I'm going to have to pay estate tax. It's, you know, the levels of tax there are just not tolerable for most people.
And the stepped up basis is not solved for. Some people get it confused and they go, oh, I just die and get a stepped up basis and my kids don't have any tax. No, it's not. It's just a completely separate tax. You've got to be aware of this and make sure that you understand the rules here.
Yeah, right. Because I think right now we're at like 26 million total. If a husband and wife are married, maybe 27 million for 2024. So, you know, it's like, it's a pretty healthy number, but you're right. You know, the step up in basis doesn't solve that problem. You know, we still have the estate tax out there. The nice thing about the estate tax is we consider the only voluntary tax because you have enough time generally to plan for it. So like, let's get that, you know, that process started sooner rather than later.
Yep. And people want to learn more about how to solve all of these challenges. Two places. There's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com with the Deferred Sales Trust. Also vitalwealth.com, where we're working with Patrick as well, with the Deferred Sales Trust as well. So you can get a team of individuals to help you with your complex real estate business investment strategy. Again, those two places you can go to. Okay, we're ready for the time. Patrick, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one gold nugget? Make sure you tell yourself to do.
Just keep persisting, right? There's going to be challenges. Don't let those... there's been times where I've wanted to quit, and I've been really thankful that I haven't, and it's just keep grinding. And then I think the second thing to that, and you touched on it earlier, was just the vision. Like, have a big vision that you absolutely believe in the future. Again, the scriptures tell us without a vision, the people perish. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think the thing that separates those that are super successful from those that aren't is they don't have a big enough vision that they actually believe in. So
beautiful. Love it. Question number 2, number 1 book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year.
So I love the Bible. I think that's a great place to start. But one that's really resonated with me lately is Nassim Taleb's Anti-Fragile. And just the premise is super fragile. Anytime volatility comes around, it breaks. Resilient, it survives it. Anti-fragile gets better in volatility. And I think about the entrepreneur, and I think volatility can show up and we can get better. And I just love that concept. Like, how do we position ourselves to be better when the markets and the world is going sideways? So
fantastic. Question number 3, what are you most curious about right now?
Ooh, that's good. I think this relates back to my faith, and I'm looking at the opportunities where I've sort of accepted culture into my life and where it conflicts with the scriptures. And I'm curious about those areas that I'm unaware of. You know, what am I doing that doesn't align with the way the Lord calls me to live? And it's been interesting. You start asking that question and things start popping up and you start making some changes in your life that, you know, in the short term make you a little uncomfortable.
Beautiful. Love it. Question number, I think 4, number 1 leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by.
Ooh, I think it goes back to the Teddy Roosevelt man in the arena. You know, it's without giving you the whole quote, it's like the man gets in the arena and has dust on his face and fails in front of people, but you know, the sort of spectator in the crowd is like jeering, but you know, hasn't got himself dirty. And so I think that's just a tremendous thing to keep in mind, is like, way to be in the arena, keep grinding. It's going to be hard. Things are going to go sideways, but it'll work itself out.
Excellent. And then we'll end it with this quote or this question here. After all your success, helping all the people you've helped, what's the best way that you're staying, you know, centered in your values, and then again, practicing stewardship over ownership every day? Yeah,
this is great. I think there's just some spiritual disciplines that we've started to lean into over time. You know, I have a journal that I journal my prayers in. I'm too ADD to like just stop and like pray. So writing it down is really good for me. Spending every day in the scriptures. You know, I read through the Bible every year and just have a reading plan there. And then I think just having a group, a tribe of like-minded people around me is so valuable, that are, striving to be better every single day. That is just you start adding those things together, and over time you're unstoppable.
Patrick, it's been more than a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your insights with us, inspiration here. I want to encourage you to keep using your strengths of loving to learn, and then creativity to combine strategies and ideas to help people make an impact, grow their wealth, get truly passive on their income, and so much more. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, I think vitalwealth.com, vitalstrategies.com is also a good place to hear the podcast and that type of thing. But Patrick at vitalwealth.com is my email. Feel free to reach out. Would love to connect with you. And Brett, I just want to say I love what you're doing here, not just with the Deferred Sales Trust and minimizing the capital gains and growing wealth there, but just this concept of return on impact, I think is a beautiful thing. And it's something that is where our focus needs to be. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. I also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Built to Billions podcast. We're also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channel. And we're here to guide you, the successful entrepreneur and investor, on your journey from millions to billions, because that's the same journey we're on. And we believe that the key to scaling your business and compounding your wealth starts every single day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal, again, is to help you scale and compound your wealth in life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. And MVPs, for those who are wondering, are the most vulnerable people. And the ROI, return on investment, remember, it's not just return on investment, it's a return on impact. So make sure you're measuring those things. It's so important. What we measure grows. I'm Brett Swarts. I appreciate you listening to this episode. Please rate, review, subscribe, share it with someone that could be impactful to today. We appreciate everyone out there. God bless. Bye now.